my dear presidents, past international, immediate past international presidents, Dr. Amani Asfour, dear executive committee member, Dr. Jenny, dear members, I would like to go quickly back to explain to you why there is a amendment of the Constitution necessary. We had in 2011 in Helsinki a constitution which was heavily amended and voted upon, and during this General Assembly, the members voted on having BPW International registered under the Swiss law, in fact, at the place where BPW International had been founded. That was in Geneva. Unfortunately, the president of that time thought he was registering us in Switzerland. She registered us with an office, but that was in fact not the good one. And I understand her. I think for non-Swiss people, it's difficult to see and realize how complicated the federal structure of Switzerland is. It was a Geneva center of welcoming center for the NGOs in Geneva who are working with the UN. This registration gives us some advantages in Geneva. We can use their premises for meetings in Geneva, but has nothing to do with an official office of registry. Now, nobody realized really that we were not registered until I started to inquire in Geneva what was going on and where we were really registered, because I needed a registration number. That is important for us for the bank. That's important for us also very important as a legal entity, and also in the fact when you would like to have funding, either from UN or European Union, that is a must. Moreover, in Switzerland, we have now, and in most countries, we have so-called anti-money laundering laws. And in Switzerland, usually it was not necessary to register an international organization if it did not exceed a certain amount of money. And now, under the Anti-Money Laundering Act, it is required. And we have to do this by, I think, beginning of July or in July 2024. So that is the story more or less behind it. We lost the registration we had when we sold the apartment in London, where, in fact, our office was based at the time. And we were just somehow in no man's land. And after Helsinki, everybody thought that we were registered. And that makes us, a non-registration puts us in a very critical situation, because whatever happens, if somebody is attacking us legally, we cannot even hire a lawyer, because a registration number is lacking. That is like a label for us to make sure that we can act as legal entity. So the big problem was now in between 2011 and 2023, also the Swiss law has developed, and we have to accommodate certain paragraphs of the Swiss law in our association law. So that is what we had a group of lawyers helping us with that, making a proposal. And then the CAC chair, Caroline, with the committee, was working on adapting things, and they proposed certain things like changing the aims, and so they said, no way, we can't change the aims, that has to stay as it is. But there are certain, you will see, there are certain things that we need to do to be officially acknowledged. One is we need to have an exact date and signatures of the outgoing and incoming presidents when the constitution is amended. That has to go on a separate sheet of paper in front of the constitution. We have to have the signatories who have the right to sign a contract in the name of BPW International. And all these indications, not the constitution as such, but these indications of who are the signatories, that goes into a data bank which is accessible publicly. So, for instance, when we are closing a contract, for instance, for CSW or for the International Congress, the people, our partners, can go into this data bank and can check if the signatures that have signed the contract are the right ones. So it gives us great transparency and protects us also against abuse. I think that is a little bit the motivation behind this amending of the constitution, which might shake some of you and cause some questioning. Is this really necessary? But it is absolutely necessary because we are a big international association and we have to have a registration number. Europe is in exactly the same position. They are registered in Belgium, and due to the Anti-Money Laundering Act of Europe, they have also to amend their regulations. I handed the floor over to CAC Chair Caroline. Thank you so much. I would say, listen, if you have a question that is immediately referring to a slide, please ask the question so that we can immediately answer it. And then at the end, we will have also question and answer time.
Thank you, President Catherine. And thank you, everyone, for being part of this conversation this morning, afternoon, or evening. So, BPW International, I'll start with a quick welcome. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, katoa. Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'm Carolyn Savage, CAC Chair for BPW International, and lovely to be with you. So, BPW International Constitution Regulations. The journey so far from 2011 to 2023, so 12 years. Our registration was to be obtained in Geneva and the resolution adopted at the 27th BPW International Congress in Helsinki. From 2021 to 2023, your existing constitution regulations required a review. What was found, what required amendment, and new mandatory clauses identified for registration compliance. Good. My computer's not as half awake as I am. So we've reviewed our constitution regulations, and part of that, as stated in our documents, is that once you review the constitution regulations, anything that goes across, we have to review the procedure manual. So a quick introduction of where we've been, an overview of what we've done to date. The BPW Constitution and Regulations, they are now structured under three parts. One is the preliminary clauses, two is the Constitution, and three regulations. So part one, excuse me, part 1A is Constitution Update and Revision. So we're doing the presentation and QA. And part 1B is the BPW Constitution Regulation, the regulations presentation. I should change that, but we'll correct it before it all goes out in final. And then next, the Appendix 1 definitions. So all the definitions have been put together as one document at the end of the Constitution regulations. So this will be distributed with a copy of the PowerPoint presentation. with the draft resolutions. So this is all draft. It's been a working document to overview to everyone. So, sorry, President Catherine, I might ask you just to mute yourself. Thank you.
Yeah.
So our agenda. So the next stage is update the PowerPoint presentation with any amendments from the executive meeting that was held in Switzerland. So that was done. Issue draft constitution regulations with proposed amendments to Swiss lawyers for review and cross-check, which has been done. Draft resolutions. Now remember, everything's in draft. Draft resolutions for every amendment proposed is going to be going out to all our members in accordance with our constitution regulations. And preparation of webinars with President and CAC Chair for distribution to all affiliate federations, affiliate clubs, and individual affiliate members. Basically, to be shared with every one of our members. We're taking you along on the journey. So a presentation across the 5 regions with each of the regional coordinators and CAC representatives of the region present. Call for vote from the International Board on an extraordinary virtual General Assembly. And the reason why this has been proposed is that you don't want to be discussing all the amendments to our Constitution in the 3 days that we come together at our next Congress. We want to have some fun along the way. There's some business, but we want to make sure this document, there will be other constitution and regulations and procedure manuals and external policy resolutions that would come through in the normal process of Congress, but we've ring-fenced this document. So this is just to give you a quick overview of the timeline, where we've been. So in 2022, I spoke at the BPW Intercontinental meeting to say that the CAC committee was going to do a review of our Constitution over the next 12 to 16 months, which I really appreciate all our team on the committee. And then November 2022, our international president's message was put on the issue of BPW International's registration and the work that was being required on the Constitution regulations. So you can see that the draft presentation to the International Executive, we've got the information from the lawyers, that was presented in October. The first presentation was at the Asia Pacific conference, and then we've been doing online presentations. Oh no, was it Europe and then Asia Pacific and Europe. I'm keeping up with timelines now. And then the call to go out to the International Board will be on we've got the 18th, but hopefully the 16th, because I'm on holiday for a couple of weeks. So I'm not letting my international president contact me. And then there will be our standard process for Congress. So this flow chart, and I did change the arrow because it was a little bit blurred. So I'll take you back just one slide. And when I've done that final update, you can see June with the yellow scroll. That is when we need to be registered by the 30th, by the 1st of July, 2024, as part of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. So 6th of November to the 9th of December, presentation to all regions and all members. 18th of December, as I said, 16th, I like to see it all out, call to the International Board for a vote on an extraordinary virtual General Assembly, EVGA, for the review voting on the BPW Constitution Regulations amendments for the purpose of registration in Geneva as adopted at Congress 2011. December 2023, 6 months prior to the proposed EVGA, issue of resolutions showing existing and amended constitution regulations to International Board and affiliate federations, affiliate clubs, and individual affiliate members. While we know individual affiliate members don't have a right to vote, they have a right to see these documents. Every member has a right to see these documents. On the 11th of January, there will be another presentation again for all the members who haven't been able to tap in the BPW Intercontinental presentation. February, 4 months prior, amendments to resolutions received. April, 2 months prior, final resolutions to the EVGA. So we're following exactly what's happening and is outlined under our Constitution and our procedure manual. June, extraordinary virtual online general meeting, Constitution regulations amendments With my proposed recommendation to our president, I've just been writing everything up on my wall planner, which is behind me, but you don't need to see that mess. And so that we can have this on the 18th of, or just before the weekend before the 18th of June, so that everything's compiled, signed off, and lodged. Okay, let me know if I go too fast. I have to remember I'm a Kiwi, and sometimes we run down the track. So I'd like to, sorry, President Catherine, did you want to say something? You're on mute. President Catherine? You're on mute. No? Okay. I just thought she was talking. So I would like to introduce the Constitutional Advisory Committee. They've had a lot of work to do since they signed up onto this committee. And review of the Constitution, Regulations and Procedure Manual, and we reviewed the current documents. We reviewed the legal registration and legal review for registration in Geneva, and also some historic information. And one of the things I'm going to let you know, we've got some amazing information that's never been pulled across with our procedure manual. And we don't want every one of those sections in the procedure manual. So for those that understand and have done contracts, our procedure, our constitution and regulations and our procedure manual are basically like our contracts. But there's other things that we call addendums, and we should have those as an appendix to those documents. So you don't embed them into the main document. So under PNGs, we'll have appendix A through to A to S maybe. But under those will be how to run a Congress, that information, how to form an affiliate club, how to do X, Y, and Z. And that information could have been lost, but going through this historic information, we found them, and now we're going to make sure they're part of it, so we don't lose it. So we leave behind a legacy of a strong foundation of documents to go forward. And as I've always said to people, that I must have hidden that slide, that we want to take people on the journey. So 3 items of work: our Constitution Regulation Review and development of the amendments was started in late 2021. 2, retaining the registration of BPW International with Geneva, as per the resolution adopted at the 27th BPW International Congress, 2011. And some of this might be a repeat, but it's just so you understand the history. And 3, Constitution Regulation amendments for compliance with Swiss Civil Code. For example, information in our existing Constitution Regulations and Procedure Manual have been repositioned or reworded, and general amendments of items not currently included in our documents. Overview, which our past international, which our immediate President Catherine, I'll just stick to Catherine now, had noted that we've done an overview. So our BPW International requires registration. So this was what was in the documents at the 27th BPW International Congress. The vote to accept the regulations applying to Geneva registration, motion to adopt the new constitution, and adoption of the new constitution. So this was passed, and the president thanked everyone for their work. Registration with Geneva in the history. From the minutes proceedings of the 27th BPW International Congress. So there was points of clarification by Canada asking about the information that was read in those books, and that they were needed to retain BPW's registration. And the Executive Secretary confirmed this and reiterated that even if Congress voted against the new Constitution regulations, a vote would need to be taken by Congress to insert the Geneva clauses into existing Constitution regulations and laws by then. And to understand, so already everyone knew the importance of having the right information there for compliance with Swiss Civil Code. So, and then it was voted to accept and apply to the Geneva for registration, and that we would adopt and incorporate the information around the regulations to comply with Swiss Civil Code and the relevant articles in 2010 version of the code, Article 60 to 79. As you can imagine, that was 2011, we're in 2023, and there's been some changes as well to the Swiss Civil Code. So overview, we also received a letter of concern from young BPW members post the General Assembly in March 2021, which required the CAC committee to review and identify any necessary changes, or some of those things should actually be formal resolutions. So there's a response now following this review that would go to our young BPWs that wrote the letter to say this is what's been identified, and if you want these changes, then they are a formal resolution. We cannot change it because someone would like it changed. BPW International Constitution Regulations and its supporting documents, the procedure manual, were to be reviewed to identify any potential information for inclusion or amendments. A review of the CAC documents version 2 dated the 29/11/2013, and that was a big document, and review of the Constitution regulations from 2011 and 2024 in respect to changes. So
Caroline, sorry,
Yeah.
Kaktir, can we make a short pause and ask our participants if they have up to now questions?
Is there any questions from the floor, from the room? If not,
okay,
I
then
can continue.
Yeah.
Okay, so the registration process has been misunderstood from a global perspective. It's not a reflection of the work of the committee since 2011. It was the system. The CAC committee of 2021 to 24 have recognised the work of all of those before us. The office of the original registrar wasn't the correct office, so we're working to have it implemented into the correct registered office. This is to assist the future management of our international organisation. So, International President Dr. Catherine Bossart has been working through her triennium to follow up with the registration of BPW International in Geneva, as per the resolution passed at the Congress, Helsinki. As a result of this, the independent Swiss law firm, who specialises in registrations for non-profit organisations and associations in Geneva, had reviewed our current documents and proposed some restructuring. For items that are embedded as governance into our constitution and regulations to be retained, while items that are around the implementation of these rules, they are put into the procedure manual as they can be easily amended. Example, as noted under our procedure manual, if language, grammar, or spelling errors can be changed without resolutions and between General Assemblies, and updated without having to formally go through the amendment and resolutions the constitutions would require. So going back to that, the documents, it noted, for example, when we had the meeting with the lawyers, there was President Catherine, Executive Secretary Jenny, and we sat down with the lawyers and said, and I went to them, can we put our existing constitution regulations in for registration now? And we got a flat no. It was not up for negotiation because there are mandatory clauses that we required. So this was part of that process. So as the General Assembly, March 2021, and upon receipt of the letter of concern, because we do need to respect all our members, it was confirmed by the CAC chair that the current constitution and regulations and the procedure manual would be reviewed with proposed amendments to address some of the discrepancies in areas requiring further detailed BPW international documents. This PowerPoint has been prepared in compliance with our constitution regulations and procedure manual to illustrate what is current or existing, what is proposed to be amended, or example, simple text grammatical amendments, or proposed reworded by the external independent legal team, which have added some valid recommendations for consideration and debate voting by our international board and delegates at the BPW International General Assembly, November 2024, noting that if it was face-to-face, then we would need to go through all of this there. But if the International Board vote to have an extraordinary virtual General Assembly, then we can cover this whole document off through that process. So just the question, why would we be an association? Because you'll see further on, they talk about the Articles of Association. We are funded by members' fees and donations. Our legal status with the association is typically non-profit. We focus on advocacy and network. So all these things in yellow, definitely tick. Size. Associations are typically smaller in size. I'm sorry, we're not. We're definitely a good size and beat some organizations. The structure of the association is less formal and flexible. No, we have structure from our international executive board, from the executive, right through to how we manage our clubs. Membership, voluntary or by invitation, yes. And societies, clubs, and professional associations are all examples of what association is. So, what is a federation? A group of membership organizations or professional associations that have joined together to form a larger, usually representative organization or governing body. It is, in effect, an association of associations. So BPW International is a federation of associations. So now to some serious stuff. The impact of the Anti-Money Laundering Act and its implementing provisions under Swiss law required only associations which conducted commercial activities in associations. Sorry, is there a question? Subject to audit requirements to register with the commercial register. So that was the history. That's what used to be the case. The situation has now evolved. In this perspective, associations that fulfill the following cumulative, so all of them, conditions remain exempt from the mandatory registration with the commercial register. So I'll go through them in a moment. And this slide is the only one I've updated through these presentations because someone asked what was the value if it was US dollars or euros. So the total, what are the limits before tax is applied for a non-profit association? If it exceeds two of the following: total assets, of Swiss francs of 10 million, or that's 11.33 million US, or 10.38 euros. Has sales revenue of 20 million, so US 22.66 million, or 20.76 million euros, and or has 50 full-time equivalents as annual average. That means full-time, spelling error, full-time paid employees. Exempt non-profit organizations that have a maximum of Swiss francs of 150,000 or 169 US dollars and 155,000 euros, and associations with less than 250,000 Swiss francs. Again, 283,000 US dollars and 259,000 euros. And the VAT, so this was based for non-profit and volunteer-run associations if revenue over 150,000 Swiss francs. So they do require annual audit review accounts, which BPW International does not require. And note the rates are based on the 23rd of the 11th, 2023. So just add some context and clarity around that. So does the Federation of BPW International require registration? Is there existing mandate within BPW internal policy to be registered with Geneva? Yes, it was adopted in the 27th BPW International Congress of 2011. During the last 2 business years, the funds raised or distributed do not exceed annually 100,000 Swiss francs under the Article 19, paragraph 2 of the Ordinance of the Commercial Register. So no, yes, finance projects with its own resources for amount exceeding 100 Swiss francs should mandatorily register. The funds are distributed by a financial intermediary within the meaning of the Anti-Money Laundering Act. So that means if we were giving money like for Ukraine, then we have to use an intermediary to do so. Then that would be a yes. At least one of the association's representative is domiciled in Switzerland. So yes. So new mandatory clauses, please let me know, raise a hand if you want to ask any questions. So the new mandatory clauses added to meet Swiss Civil Code and the Constitution regulations. The Articles of Association to comply with Swiss Civil Code, preliminary clauses to identify all supplementary documents that are to be read with the Constitution regulations, but not included in such. So in the future, there might be, so we've got a procedure manual, but there might be a financial manual. We've just done that with Asia Pacific. They've now got a financial policy as well as the Asia Pacific regulations. And we don't have a financial policy within the BPW international documents. So that's something that should be looked at. In order to comply with legal provisions, the affiliates clause is renamed as the members. This is because an association is necessarily made up of members. The executive board, or 1/5 of the members of BPW International, the association, in accordance with Article 64, paragraph 3, CC is the Swiss Civil Code, may at any time request. Hello, Charmaine. You have a question?
Yes, I do. Sorry, I'm not able to turn on my video. I'm in a bad place.
No. Not a problem.
Yeah. So this is Charmaine with BPW, Cosmo, Nigeria. Quick question. On the prior slide that you just showed, do you have to have all of the, do you want to go back one slide? Yeah,
Yep.
right there. Do you have to have those 4 entities or most of the entities as a yes to be required to register? And if that's the case, I mean, what happens when number 3, the association representative is no longer domiciled in Switzerland, being that the representatives do change, you know, after a few number of years? So how does that fit in?
President Catherine, did you want to respond to that? Can you unmute yourself? President Catherine, can you unmute? No.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm on the phone and not on the computer, so it's a bit difficult to unmute. We are, as an organization, we can be registered in Switzerland even if we don't have a representative of Switzerland in the board. That has nothing to do with each other. I think that is one important thing to retain. And what else was?
And all three. So items 1, 2, and 3, they all have to be a yes. If we've got a no in one of them, so it says the cumulative. So all of them have to be met.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The lawyers have explained to us that we need to meet all 3 conditions.
Yeah, if we are not registered, if we don't get through with the registration, that puts us in a very difficult situation legally, because as you might have heard, we have just closed a global MOU with UN Women to set up incubators and inclusive business means for women to start their businesses, small and medium enterprises, and to get that costs to set up these incubators. So if we are, for instance, if you'd like to have funds from the European Union or other government entities, we will not get them without a registration number.
Does that help, Charmaine?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so so the executive board, I think that's where I was up to, or 1/5 of the members of BPW International, the association, in accordance with Article 64, 3cc, may at any time request that an extraordinary General Assembly be held specifying the purpose thereof. So the motion going to the International Board will only have one item on the agenda, which will be the constitution regulations for the purpose of registration with Geneva. And the language will be correct, but power representation. So this is something new. The president and 1 or more collective signatories from the executive are required. So the president cannot sign anything on her those signatories, that list of signatories, will be up on the registrar. Submission of the minutes of the business sessions of the General Assembly with a copy of the new executive signatories are to be submitted to the registration office 3 months after the International Congress, and constitution and regulations are to be updated with all resolutions adopted in the General Assembly and signed by the outgoing executive signatories in the last business session of the General Assembly. So I don't envy the CAC chair making sure all of that's correct and the final book's together, but that's what's now required. But going forward, it'll be really easy. There might be 3 or 4 constitutional changes. So our BPW International Constitution Regulations, which were adopted at the 30th General Assembly, the 17th of March, 2021. Compliance with our Constitution and regulations. In accordance with the existing Constitution regulations, C8 amendments, the Constitution can be amended only at a General Assembly. So again, we're taking along the journey. We do not say this has to be collective and it has to be a collective vote. So BPW International Constitutional Regulations. Part 1, the structure and statutes to align with Swiss Civil Code. So you can see an image of what the cover of our existing Constitution and regulations looks like, and it's on our international website under governance documents. So through this, you'll see new sections or headings added, text amended, a new text added, and text removed. And so we've identified them with colour. And there'll be minor amendments. So for the following, adjustment of text, updates on amendments included in footer. So this is what our cover page has got. Name of statutes and date of the most current, approved, most prominent. So that needs to be on our front page. The date the document comes into force, has been ratified and adopted by the members of the General Assembly, and the address is removed from the front page. Plus, might be doing a new design to the cover. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see our standard existing cover. And then on the right-hand side is the draft proposed cover to our Constitution and regulations. And you note it says Statutes 2023 for adoption. That will actually have the date it gets signed. And then it will say, at the moment, it says 31st General Assembly, November 2024, because that's what's under our Constitution. And the address details are relocated under name and headquarters. At the bottom of the footer will be, and hopefully you can see that, so you can see our mission statement doesn't change, nothing there, but any changes will go into the footer of the document, of the page. And that's just a formatting thing and just keeps it tidy. So, ratified. This is a new section that's been added. A new page will be added into the front section of the Constitution Regulations document. It is to be signed following all Constitution and Regulation resolutions that have been voted and passed during the General Assembly. The final document must include the above and is made ready for the outgoing executive to sign before close of the General Assembly. This will then be issued to the head office in Geneva within 3 months following the General Assembly with a copy of the minutes and a copy of the new signatories for the new triennium. And I'm sure with a number of you that when you do a club handover, your new president and secretary, treasurer, and usually first vice president are appointed as signatories. That's a copy that goes with the minutes. That section goes with the minutes to the bank to then do the changeover. And we do it with clubs and our federation in New Zealand. So this is just to show you what will be on the page. These updated Articles of Association of the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, IFBPW, also known as BPW International, the articles consist of the following 3 sections. 1, preliminary clauses. 2, constitution. And 3, regulations. 2, process. These articles have been reviewed, debated, voted and approved and updated with the final articles presented for approval at, currently, BPW International General Assembly held All future resolutions for amendments and approved changes will be voted during the General Assemblies and will be signed off prior to the end of the last business session by the outgoing signatories of the Executive. So this is quite new for us, but it's also going to be one of the really good things about this. Anyone that picks up the documents will go, this is the latest document I'm working with. So 3, registration, a copy of the minutes of the General Assembly with a copy of the new signatories' details and a list of the Executive Board. Yep, that's right, it's easy to read. To be included at the time of these being submitted to BPW International, the association's head office in Geneva, and submitted within 3 months. So we would have signed on behalf of the International Board, Federation of Business and Professional Women, IFBPW, BPW International Executive, 2021 to 2024, for example. And then this is what the page, you'll see here that what the page would look like finally. So it's clean and it's basically giving us more legal context to that document. So new sections and or headings numbered added. So our preliminary clauses numbered P1 to P3. Constitution, I was asked to make sure we have C1 to C14, so I put that in, and regulations R1 to R14. And then the appendix, BPW International definitions. Preliminary clauses, again, these articles of association of the International Federation of Business and Professional Women, IFBPW or BPW International. The articles consist of the following 3 sections. 1, preliminary clauses. 2, constitution. 3, regulations. And annexes appendix 1, BPW International definitions. And number 2, capitalized words. In these articles of association, words and expressions which had the first letter of their constitution word capitalized shall have the meaning set out in the Appendix 1 to the Articles of Association entitled Appendix 1 BPW International Definitions, which is annexed to these Articles of Association. The definitions in this appendix apply to both the singular and plural of the terms concerned. Now, when I send out, when we're issuing you the draft resolutions, there's something like 70 resolutions for you to review, and some of them are really simple, but we need to make sure you have all that information with you. And the definitions will be at the back, and my proposal will be that we can just vote for the definitions in full. So hopefully that all works well. And then 3, procedure manual. The reason why this is now referenced is because it is a document we need to read with our constitution regulations. So the procedure manual is a supplementary document drawn up by BPW International, the association, containing a set of regulatory standards which supplement or clarify the application of the Articles of Association. Under Swiss law, these rules do not have to be included in the Article of Association. Thank goodness. The procedure manual may be consulted by any member who submits a written request to the Executive Secretary. Constitution regulation amendments must be prepared with attached clear rationales as to their impact on the procedure manual. When approved, the changes updating the procedure manual should be carried out at the same time as the updating of the Constitution regulations. And I thought I had an easy job, but no. There will be no need to make any further reference to the International Executive. The procedure manual may be amended by the Executive Board. Such amendments apply only after they are each singly accepted by a majority vote at the International Board. So, Part A, Constitution. So at the moment, you've got 8 sections, 8 parts of our Constitution. Our new Constitution, and not new, but our amended Constitution with new sections added, or they've been relocated, repositioned. So you'll see the name was title, it's now called Name and Headquarters, BPW International, the association, formerly Type 2 organisation. Our aims stay the same, our structure stay the same. C5 was principles, that was actually under our regulations, and it was R24. So you can see throughout this slide that what was in the regulations or in the procedure manual have actually been brought across under the Constitution. And the following sections have been moved, come from regulation sections, procedure manual. So as I said, there's 175 slides. We don't want to take you through every one of those today. You probably wouldn't thank me for it either. It took 2 days with the executive. So this is one I thought was really important. C5 affiliates. The International Federation of Business and Professional Women, so this is all it was in there, otherwise called BPW International, consists of affiliate federations of business and professional women, affiliate clubs of business and professional women, individual affiliate members, business and professional women. The International Board may remove an affiliate. Ba-bum. That was it. We now have, the lawyer has explained, oh yes, I have included those, cool. In order to comply with legal provisions, we invite you to rename the affiliates clause as members. This is because an association is necessarily made up of members. We're all members. We're either members of our clubs, affiliates, our federations, and our federations are members of BPW International. We come under that umbrella, so it made sense. We've grouped together definitions of the various members in this clause in order to clarify the distinction between members from the outset. We have also inserted a paragraph on the obligation to keep a list of members. Now, what they were talking about initially, President Catherine and I had a moment's meltdown and panic moment, thought that every member across the world had to be kept, their name had to be kept by the vice president membership. But no, it means the list of the affiliate federations, affiliate clubs, and individual members are retained by BPW International, which is right, because our affiliate federation sends through to BPW International, who their new executive is. And that's all you keep. And they keep it for 5 years. So if a club folds, they still keep that information. But if a club is affiliated with a federation, it is that federation that keeps that information. We at International only keep the federation's name. So it'd be BPW New Zealand, and the current president might be Janet Gibb. We also propose that you add directly after the definition of members the provisions relating to joining and leaving of a member. So this is what it looks like. I'm just giving you one page because I'm very conscious of time. But C13 members, 13.1, the International Federation of Business and Professional Women consists of the affiliate federations, affiliate clubs, because they've been asked to re-put affiliate back in at the executive meeting, and individual members of the association, the members. Members may be legal entities and all persons who have an interest in and or wish to support the mission, social aim, and objectives of BPW International, the association. Members up to 35 years of age are officially recognised as young BPW members, and I acknowledge our young BPW representative today. And the association is composed of the following members. So then it goes through and lists in detail what a federation is, what a club affiliated federation is, affiliate club, and an individual member. I haven't got those slides open, but I can always go back and show you those if you want to have a look at them after this. So it's important feedback by all on the proposed draft amendments to our international constitution. This is for you to have your input, and through the draft resolutions, you'll be asked to review and then come back to us. So part 1B, regulations. So this is our existing regulations contents list. Goes from R1 to R24. And the overview of the regulations that have been relocated or moved from this section. So everything that's in yellow has actually been repositioned or proposed relocated under the procedure manual. So it's quite clear and simple to follow in that respect. Well, hopefully. So for example, young BPWs are now being relocated under the Constitution section 13.1, and the database relocated under Constitution 13.1. Standing committees are now relocated under definitions because how they're structured, how they operate are actually under our procedure manual. And regulations, so as I say, anything in blue, organisation of BPW International, the association. R2 General Assembly. Now, this is really important. It now has general information about what the General Assembly is, the General Assembly for the triennium, the General Assembly for the annual audited accounts. Now, this is something that we're working with the lawyers, that we don't have a General Assembly for the annual audit accounts. So that would mean every year we would have to have a General Assembly, but we've spoken with the lawyers and asked that that can be the annual audit accounts are issued to our international board and they can vote in their final ratification. But what it does mean for our members is that you do see the accounts every year. You don't see them at the end of the triennium. The budget's been approved at the triennium. How your executive managed that is, we've given them the mandate how to manage it, but we can see where we're running every year, which is a good thing. And then there's timeframes for Congress and General Assembly, the quorum powers of what, and that's around your voting and who has the powers to vote, and what an extraordinary General Assembly should be. So, again, some new items, conflicts of interest, which is a new section under our Constitution. The President keeps coming up quite a lot. The International Board, what their competence, composition. Now, nominations, now I understood what the Swiss lawyers were saying about nomination. It's who the federations and clubs nominate to be their representatives on the International Board. The presidents, the meetings, decisions and voting by the International Board, and functions and responsibility. Composition, nomination, so this is a nomination for the executive positions, term of office, removal from office and resignation, delegation, power of representation in meetings, and decision-making at the executive. Again, some new stuff. Accounting, which was initially C6 fiscal year, which is a one-liner. The president, dissolution, liability, trustees, amendments, and entry into force. So there's been a lot around this process, but there's nothing that you aren't going to be aware of. And as I say, I think when I've been going through the draft document now for the resolutions that will be coming out, I think there's close to 70 resolutions. So you've got a bit of reading to do. So the International Congress structure. The International Congress is to meet 5 functions. Pre-General Assembly International Board Meeting. The General Assembly for the business of the Federation. Post-General Assembly International Board Meeting. The 5 regional meetings, and that could be before the General Assembly. So there's no particular thing on these last 2 points. And members' education, empowerment through plenary sessions, keynote speakers, and awards dinner. So, and our international president will be able to talk on this, but the General Assembly has been set for the 24th of for Argentina in November 2024. So now some important information for you. The General Assembly. So this is a new section that's been added into our document. Decisions. The General Assembly decides by means of resolutions that have been received. Resolutions on finance or dues must be issued 4 months prior to the General Assembly. A resolution is a proposal on the agenda for either internal and operational matters and external and advocacy matters. Motions can be received from the floor, from a mover, seconder, and requires a vote to pass or carry the motion. Constitution regulation resolutions require 2/3 majority vote of the quorum present to be adopted. External resolutions require simple majority vote of the quorum present to be adopted. And reports are received, but before being adopted, any recommendations arising from a report must be seconded before it can be put to the vote. And a simple majority is required to pass the recommendations. So this is our process that we undertake in the General Assembly. Outside General Assemblies are written proposals from the executive of all the International Board to which all members who are entitled to vote through a delegate at the General Assembly have subscribed in writing shall be equivalent to a resolution of the General Assembly. The written proposal of the executive or the international board is sent by email to the members entitled to vote through a delegate at the General Assembly. Members are given 20 working days to accept the written proposal in writing by return email. After this deadline, the written proposal is considered to have been rejected by the member who has not responded in time. 3.9 minutes, again new. The minutes of the general business sessions of the General Assembly are to be submitted 3 months following the closing of the Congress and issued to the registration office with a copy of the amended Constitution and regulations adopted and signed by the outgoing appointed executive signatories and the final session of the General Assembly, and forms with the details of the newly appointed executive and signatories for the next triennium. Minutes and proceedings. The Congress proceedings and minutes of the General Assembly and the International Congress shall be kept by the executive or on its behalf the executive secretary. Now, under our current constitution and procedure manuals, the following is in there. Within 12 months of the International Congress and General Assembly, the immediate past president is to work with the executive secretary and executive finance officer from her term to ensure the proceedings and the finalized accounts of the International Congress are completed and forwarded to the International Board. And so this, I'm just showing you the proceedings from Finland, just what the cover looked like, and an outlay of what the proceedings looked like from Korea, when it was held in Jeju. Sorry, I don't have any others that I can show as examples. So, new section and heading, and I hope this is all okay, everyone. That if any questions, conflicts of interest. All members are legally prohibited from being represented by their delegate or from exercising their right to vote in decisions relating to a BPW international, an association matter or lawsuit which they, a close relative, their spouse or their partners or relatives in the direct line are involved, as pursuant to Article 68 of the Swiss Civil Code. Elected or appointed officials are not to participate in making or in any way attempting to use her official position to influence a decision in which she knows or has reason to know that she has a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is when the BPW member derives any personal and or financial gain directly or indirectly as a result of the member's elected or appointed duties in BPW. So, the International Board, new and see Procedure Manual 8. So there's some things that came from there. And then functions and responsibilities. Extracts have been carried over from the existing Procedure Manual and original regulations. We're nearly there, ladies. So, and can you imagine the executive board, and the executive had to go through a full day of this and a half. So 7.9 executive meetings. The executive shall meet as often as necessary, but at least once a year face-to-face. In the case of a year in which the International Congress takes place, the executive meeting must take place before the International Congress. If 3 members of the executive so request, a meeting shall be held within 14 days of the request. The quorum of the executive to hold a meeting shall be 6 members of the executive. Members of the executive may validly participate in a meeting of the executive and make decisions in person, by video or teleconference, or by any other means decided by the executive. Meetings in person may be held in the country where the president resides or abroad. Meetings of the executive shall be convened by the president of the executive at least 3 months in advance. In urgent circumstances, the president may call an extraordinary meeting with 14 days' notice, with availability confirmed by the executive to ensure a quorum is present. Decisions by the International Board and the executive. So what was existing, this is an existing item, and then R18, accounting. This is C36 fiscal year. So the executive draws up the accounts for each financial year in accordance with the applicable legal provisions. An accounting year begins on the 1st of January and ends on the 31st of December. So fiscal year just used to say the fiscal year is from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. So you can see that there's a bit more information behind it. R11 liability. BPW International, the association, is solely liable for its debts, which are guaranteed by its corporate assets. Members have no personal liability for BPW International, the association's debts. R13 amendments. So, the existing says the Constitution may be amended only at a General Assembly. And you can see this is slide 167. Amendments. The Constitution and regulations statutes may only be discussed and amended upon receipt of resolutions for submission to the General Assembly of BPW International. A vote of 2/3 of those voting, a quorum being present, is required for an amendment to be adopted. Resolutions are as per outlined under the procedure manual. Amendments to the Constitution may be proposed by members of the Executive, the International Board, past presidents of BPW International, affiliate federations who are up to date with their dues, affiliate clubs in the same country, all of whom are up to date with their dues, chair of standing committees. At any time, the Executive and/or International Board may propose to the members by email that the Constitution Regulation Statutes be amended. The updated Constitution Regulation Statutes will be proposed through resolutions, amended, voted, and adopted at the General Assembly. Entry into force. The new Constitution and Regulation Statute shall be amended as proposed and circulated by the Executive to the International Board by email for voting at the extraordinary virtual general meeting to be held within 20 days following receipt of the proposal. These articles, so this is a once-off, but then it will go as a normal process if that's approved by the International Board. These articles of association, Constitution regulations, were adopted at the General Assembly held on ... and came into force on the same date. These articles of association, Constitution regulations for the association or BPW International will be put into force to meet the registration criteria of Article 60 and the following item of the Swiss Civil Code, hereafter CC, at the Registrar de Commerce of the Canton of Geneva. I've managed to lose the ETH. Signature page follows. Okay. Any questions? And we do have a whole section that we're publishing as part of this document, all the frequently asked questions. So questions that came through from our executive. One of the questions I had was, does this impact on our ECOSOC standing? No, it does not. It just actually, that is not impacted in any way or our current signatory with the Madrid Protocol. I think I've got that right this time, President Catherine. So I understand by being registered though in Geneva, that just gives us the platform, and then that helps with getting the registration number, and we will be online. All the detail, our budgets go online, our financial records, our report, our minutes. This is a transparency to our organisation, and we are on that big space anyway. We've been working in there, now we just need that validated. So any questions? And I've stunned everyone. Okay, I will show you the next slide then. Where to from here? So presentations, webinars, motion for approval for Extraordinary General Assembly to review, debate. Razia, I've got to make sure I pronounce your name correctly.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm so sorry.
No, not a problem.
Good evening, dear President. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. We've heard what you just said, but I just have one question.
Only one.
This amendment, are you holding this meeting only with African region, or will it
No.
be held with everybody?
With everybody right across the world.
Okay, all right, I understand. So the amendment, will that come in at the general meeting, or we are just working on it right now?
Okay, so there's three parts to it. First is the draft resolutions will be going to everyone. So I'll take a step back. The first part is doing the presentation across all 5 regions.
Okay.
This PowerPoint, the full PowerPoint, will be made available to all our members. So every member gets a copy of it so you can go through it in detail. And then the draft resolutions, which I'm working on at the moment and with our committee, will be going out to every member with the call for the International Board to vote on having an extraordinary virtual General Assembly just for the purpose of going through this document. So we don't spend 3 days going through it at our Congress, and also to meet the registration deadline that we have to do for the Anti-Money Laundering Act requirements. So it states we need to be registered by the 1st of July. So this is specific for that, and it gets ring fenced. But stating that, if I go back, I might just go back to one of our other slides. I wonder if I can do this easy. Okay, now I'm going to have to do it that way in a bit. But if you have a look at the timeline, so then we're just focusing on this set of documents for the purpose that we are registered. But at our normal Congress process, there could be other resolutions that come through. So I know that at the online General Assembly that we had, there were some resolutions that were tabled and they couldn't be presented because we didn't have the time. So the movers have been asked, do they want those? Those will come back for our General Assembly, the one that will be held at Argentina or whatever's happening there, but that will be at that face-to-face. But if we ring-fence this document alone, we're not looking at any of those other constitutional changes. We'll do those as a face-to-face. So they will come back through that normal process. Does that help?
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And Yinka?
Yes, I'd like to find out, in the event that we have amendments to be made, will the amendments be ratified in a single vote, or they'll be taken one at a time, one by one?
One by one, just like we would normally do in a General Assembly. Each one of those is a resolution of its own. So you will be getting in the booklet form, and I wonder, I might just exit this in the slideshow and I'll share another screen. Oh, yep, you can see the screen?
Yes.
Great. So I'll just take you right through to the bottom. This is what the document will be looking like that will come out. So every one of those is a draft resolution. So 1, the cover page will have a resolution. 2, be ratified. 3, the contents. C3 and C4, they don't need a resolution because they're exactly the same. They even have the same number from the existing Constitution page. And then I might view as read page, reading view. Oops. Sorry, I just want to get you to that page. That didn't help, did it? Sorry. Bear with me for a moment. I've just managed to change all my, oops. Okay, that's perfect. So I just want to view this one page. That's it. So you can see here, this is just the draft document. So where, for example, R24 principles is now going to become C5, there will be a resolution. So this is just a template to show you what's going to be there. But there's about 70 resolutions that you all need to review. Hopefully that there might be some changes that come back from our members, but this is for you to do it in the right process, as we would do for any normal Congress if we were face-to-face, but doing it through the extraordinary virtual General Assembly, it would just mean that we're doing all of this online. So, but there's still the same countdown, still the same timeline would be applied. So we're not changing that process at all. It would just be that the virtual General Assembly would be ring fencing these amendments process. So, and every one of them will be gone through. Every one of them will be reviewed, discussed, voted, and adopted. And if they're not adopted and are changed, then I've got some more work to do. But
Chair Caroline,
yes,
I would like to add, I think for the presentation, what we should have is highlight the articles that need absolutely to be in there for enabling us to register.
okay.
So
I couldn't. So that was the mandatory items that needed to be in there.
yeah, I think 1/3 of the membership which can vote ask for a General Assembly, the
1/5.
signatories, the page at the beginning of the Constitution with all the indications when it has been signed, and what else? Oh yes, the annual voting of the financial statement, the audited financial statement. I think these are the 4 things that need to be in there, by all means.
And also that's signed has to be in there. And the minutes process, that has to be in there. So it's that ratification. And I might just stop sharing for a moment because my screen is frozen. So yes, some questions.
I have another addendum to make if I may quickly intervene.
And then Martini's got a question as well.
Yeah, I realized in between that we can, in fact, there are two steps. One step is registration with Office of Registry, and the other step is at the financial department to ask for exemption of taxes. And this exemption of taxes can be done already now. I didn't know that.
Oh, great.
So that would give us a certain certainty, or give us a certainty also when we are having the extraordinary General Assembly. If this is already gone through the Department of Finance in Geneva.
Okay, perfect. Martini, how are you? You're on mute. Sorry, you're on mute. How do I unmute someone? Sorry, you're on mute. Ah, thank you. Ah, I've lost her.
She must
Okay.
have something else. Okay, good evening, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you for a nice presentation. I'm sorry I came a little bit late, and I'm wondering if we can get the presentation, if it is possible, we can get access to it, because I missed some of the points when you were presenting.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone's going to get a copy of it.
Yes, that's fine.
And we're going to distribute the recordings from today as well.
Okay. Now, when you are talking about the assembly, where they have to do, I think the amendment will be done before the next assembly. Is that so?
Yes, before the one before our face-to-face Congress.
2024. Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay, that's clear then. Okay, thank you.
Because there is, as Chair Caroline said beforehand, there are about 70 resolutions just to put the constitution and the procedure manual in a form that we can present it to the Office of Registry. All the other amendments that have been asked at the Congress of 2021, at the virtual Congress, and had to be, as Caroline said beforehand, had to be postponed. They will be by the resolutions chair. Resolutions chair will go to the resolution, the one who made the resolution, and ask them if they maintain the resolution or the amendment, or if they are renouncing to it, and then that will be voted at the normal General Assembly in Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's clear. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you'll all get a copy of this. You will get the draft resolutions, because if you have a look at the timeline, I'll go back now. We need to comply with our constitution and the regulations. So if we were doing this for the General Assembly in Argentina, then the resolutions would be issued, would be called for and be submitted 6 months before the General Assembly. Then 4 months before the General Assembly, nominations and resolutions are circulated to the International Board, and then you have your Congress. But in this respect, our presentations of these Constitution and regulations amendments have been presented to all 5 regions. The last one will be on I think it's the 3rd of December, my time, 5 o'clock again. But we are still following the due process. So 6 months prior to the extraordinary virtual General Assembly, all these resolutions are issued to everyone to review. You have 2 months to review, as a normal process we would do for Congress. 4 months prior, amendments are to be received by the CAT committee, and then 2 months prior, the final resolutions are issued to everyone, and then the extraordinary virtual General Assembly. As long as the International Board approve, and that's what will have to be at the vote by the International Board meeting, which should be on the, I think about the 16th of January.
January, yeah.
Yeah. So then we cover this, have us registered, and then any normal process for Congress, any normal constitution regulation changes or amendments. And I would like to correct President Catherine in the sense that I am not making all the changes to the procedure manual. It is only our constitution regulations that get lodged for registration.
Yeah.
But our procedure manual does need to be aligned with what our new constitution regulations, so any changes. So just making a point of clarification there.
Thank you, Caroline.
But there will be resolutions around policy, around our procedure manual as well, because if they changed, and each has its put down, and that's done through the International Board meeting, but that can be done at the International Board meeting in Congress. So at the first meeting.
Exactly. Is there any other questions?
And no other questions? Brilliant.
Just a comment, CAC Chair Caroline, it's Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
So, there's an enormous amount of work that has gone through, and our gratitude to you, CAC Chair Carolyn, for your leadership. As many of you know, President Catherine and myself are ex officio members on CAC. And I must say to you that there has been enormous work behind all of this, and very competent people behind this as well, along with the legal experts, acting in the interest of BPW International. So at the end of this, we've got to think about the best interest of the organization, and strengthening the position of BPW International for the next 100 years as well. So, just to look towards the future and say to ourselves, how do we strengthen BPW International, and how do we legally protect BPW International as well? So thank you, CAC Chair Caroline, and the committee as a whole, and the immense work that has been, inputted into this exercise, and for coming out to our face-to-face executive meeting involving the entire executive. And at the end of the day, it's about making sure that our members, not just at the top leadership levels, but also down to the actual member, to make sure that there is an understanding that has been created, that it is about involving all of our members so that we do what is in the best interest of BPW International. So it's really important for the top leadership in each of the regions to understand what is taking place, and the fact that the only changes, or whatever you see as new items, those are to meet the minimum criteria of the registration. So whatever else that you're seeing over 150 or 175 slides was basically moving sections from our other governance documents into the Constitution. So the majority of the changes that you see, or the majority of the updates or amendments that you see, are basically taking from what already exists in our governance documents, such as the procedure manual or the regulations, and bringing it into the Constitution. So there's nothing new there. The only new items that you see is to meet the basic minimum requirements for registration. So thank you, BPW Africa region, for being on this call, but also to take away from this all the materials and the resolutions that come out of it, and ensure that it's not just remaining at the top leadership levels, but also trickling down to the members, so that everyone understands the changes taking place. Because at the end of the day, the regional regulations and what happens at the local levels should also all align with BPW International. So that's what I wanted to just mention as we conclude this.
Thank you very much, Executive Secretary Jenny. We have all been involved very heavily, but I must say the leadership of CAC Chair Caroline has really moved this forward, and I don't know if we would have had the courage to do it just from the side of the executive. If we had not had CAC Chair Caroline, I think we would have been desperate. I must think, just it's a huge workload. And I really am very grateful for you all, for your help, for your understanding, and specifically Regional CAC Chair Caroline, because she has really, how many early morning hours she has spent with us on the screen, going through each article that were hours. And I must say, you will get everything when we have done all the information sessions, as well the PowerPoint as the old document and the draft amended document. But what we are voting on in January is really, are we going to have a extraordinary General Assembly in June? That will be the motion. And probably also that we needed some money that was, of course, not budgeted, because how can the previous executive could not anticipate the whole situation, because we were all not informed that we were not registered, and of course that had some financial consequences also. So I think the international board has to vote on that and to accept that. So thank you all for coming today. And if there are any questions, Chair Caroline and I, and also Executive Secretary Jenny, we are open to questions. Address them to one of us, and we will answer you gladly.
And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
you.
very
Thank
much
you.
for a lovely
And
meeting.
Jobin,
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
sorry, wait. Joba's got a question, and Martina's got a question.
No, I think for
I
me
want to
it's
thank
fine.
you.
It's fine already.
No, but I want to thank you as well for your help and for condensing my 175 slides down to something a little bit less.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for your leadership in the CAC committee, Caroline and President Catherine. I just want to say that there's a lot more work to be done in the Africa region on our constitution, on our regulations and bylaws and so on. Luckily, under regional coordinator Adenike, we have a very comprehensive regional regulation and so on. But once we pass these amendments, we need to review that Africa regional regulations and bylaws. And we'll be looking to HADIA for the leadership and coordination and convening power of that to be able to work on what we need to work on immediately. Thank you very much, everyone. So please keep watching this space. Thanks.
You're very welcome.
Okay, someone else wanted to speak, or no? Perfect. Lydia, you've got your phone on mute. Lydia, you're still on mute.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Is it
Yes,
okay
we
now?
hear you.
Yes, okay. Okay, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Caroline. Indeed, it is really, really hard work. Jenny has said it beautifully. She has explained everything. I don't have to mention it again. So we are just waiting for the really good results at the end. And then I'm really say thank you for all my sisters who are here today. And for those who are not here, please pass the message to them as well. So I'm very proud of you, all of you. Very happy, Catherine, with all the travel you did and with all these things that you have been here with us today. Caroline, thank you for the hard work. Jenny, and all my sisters too. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night or good morning, everybody, also from my side. And the documents will be sent to all the international board, to all the presidents or the clubs, to have everything in hand when we call the international board to vote on the motion. Thank you very much. And as I said, if there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask them. Thank you. Good evening. Bye-bye.
Good evening.